A very good afternoon. Welcome to the Big Chat with myself, SK Pasha. Another episode, another day. Well, this one is going to be extra special. It is the 17th of January 2024, the second episode of the year. He's here, he's live, he's in studio. A gentleman that shared a pitch with one of the greatest players. You speak about Luis Suarez, you speak about Jan Stam, you speak about Jan Klaas Huntelaar, you speak about Wesley Sneijder, Edgar Davids. This is the gentleman live in studio, and when I posted about him, I got a lot of messages saying is he single, what's happening? But I think he'll clarify everything for us. What an absolute pleasure. A man who's played his football out in Europe for Ajax Amsterdam, Ajax Cape Town, KZ Chiefs, Chippa United, Lamolleville Golden Arrows, Orlando Pirates Juniors, Wits Juniors, Ajax Cape Town Juniors, made his debut at 18 years of age. That's the type of talent, that's the type of player that he has, and it's an absolute peach of an honor to have him here with us. Had an opportunity to work with him for the first time on Sunday. Very clever, very nippy, and he's spoken about crumbs. We'll have some crumbs here this afternoon. His name is Stanton Stiga. Lewis, a very good afternoon to you, brother.
Good afternoon, bro. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. The pleasure is ours. I think we are going to be starting from the infant stages of your career and your life as well. Just tell us who exactly is Stanton Lewis.
Yeah, just a young boy with a dream. Grew up in Bosmont, Nuclear, Florida. Played for local clubs there. I got scouted when I was young. I think about 9-10 years old by Wits. I played there for 1 or 2 seasons, and Pirates came. I joined Augusto Palacios in his setup. I then went on to the provincial tournaments. Ajax Cape Town saw me, and they asked me to come and join their youth academy.
Yeah, we'll come back to the professional youth side. The type of child that Stanton is, your siblings, was it in a family gathering ways, your parents and your siblings? Just take us through your family, how you grew up in that setup.
Yeah, look, it was difficult. I come from a broken home. I have my parents they got divorced when we were young, but they were always, a pillar in my life, as well as my siblings. I have an older brother and older sister. So I'm the youngest, so yeah, I got bullied a lot.
Yeah.
But look, in the areas that I spoke about now, you have 2 routes. We always see the guys on the corner, the guys, they so-called clevers. They were the guys that you look up to. They had the money. You choose that route or you choose football. And for me, it was easy to choose football over the gangsterism.
Yeah, but does that shape you? Does this shape you, seeing that the gangsterism as well? Does it? Because at such a young age, it should be difficult for you to choose because they've got the money, it's the women, it's the cars, and everything. Were you not leaning towards that at an early age? What made you choose football more than that lifestyle?
Yeah, I think the home I came from. My parents always wanted me to do the right thing. They've always encouraged me to do sport, and I was fortunate to be one of the top athletes in the schools that I attended, and that kind of steered me away from seeing the so-called glitz and glamour of our street hustlers.
The story of your parents as well. Did you understand the separation? Did they sit you guys down to say this is what is happening? And how did it affect you personally and possibly your siblings as well?
It's crazy because I never ever asked. I never wanted to know. I think when I got older and became a young teen, I'd already moved away from home. So growing up in a environment that was really family orientated and a family that was always together having Sunday lunches and stuff, I never knew it. I knew it separately, having with my mom, having with my dad, but on special occasions they come together, they're good friends, and we'll sit as one big family.
You speak about that as well. I'm now thinking about how does this influence you as a young teenager for you to see that your parents are not together? How does that influence you positively or negatively?
Very difficult. So I think I've always thought of the positive more than the negative. I had two homes to go to. If I fought with my mom, I'd run to my dad. If I fought with my dad, I'll go to my mom. So, in that way, it kind of helped me. But for my kids, I would never want it. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got beautiful kids. And I just want to give them what I didn't have.
And that's the most important part.
100%.
Absolutely. Your professional career now, you speak about those clubs, and at that age, you know Orlando Pirates most than I do in regards to the players that they produce at a certain time. Wits, one of the top football academies in the country, Ajax Cape Town, Ikamva, and all of that. It tells you about the talent that you have as a footballer or coming up as a footballer. Where did the love for you for football start, and how did it start?
Yeah, it started locally at the amateur club. I used to play for a team called Aston Villa in the BFA, Bosmont Football Association. I had a knack for scoring goals and entertaining people. And I think my dad and my mom also, they seen that, this could become a career. As a youth player, I was, your inverted commas, Messi of the league. And from there, everything just happened year after year. It just got better and better, and I realized that I could do something with this talent that God has given me.
You started at Wits or Pirates first?
At Wits.
And at Wits as well. I'm not sure if it was the same time, but Coach Ashley Makanya was the head of for you, or was it someone different? Who was your first coach at Wits?
That's a very funny story, because Coach Johan is a very, very old man. He coached me when I was there. And that's all I can remember is having Coach Johan as my coach, who actually coaches my two younger sons this day. So he's their coach. He was my coach many years ago. And that's all I can remember from Wits' days.
But take me through that as well. Wits is a beautiful club. It's a family-like, affair at the club. One of the top facilities as well, particularly the grounds there. What does that now mean to you or do to you, knowing that now you're playing for Wits? It's your first type of professional setting. How did that change you or make you a better player and a better person at Wits? Yeah,
looking at the quality of players that they got. You had to trial to be there, unlike amateur clubs where they just take anybody.
Yeah.
A more professional setup. You have a clubhouse. You have your training fields, and Wits has many fields. So that you had your own field to train on, and weren't sharing with anybody. That alone just changes your mindset and makes you believe that one step closer to becoming a professional soccer player.
Absolutely. Your proudest moments as Wits, of course it was a bit short, but your proudest moments of being at that club?
Yeah, I think I was the top goal scorer there. I think we won everything that season. I remember playing against Itu when he was at Chiefs. They still played out of Milo Park. He was a striker at the time, and I thought, no. If he can be at Chiefs as a striker, then I'm definitely next in line to come and take his position.
Absolutely. Now, Orlando Pirates, a club of history, tradition, a lot of good things at the club. The first club to win the CAF Champions League, back in '95. You joined the club. How did that happen? Joining Pirates, was there no fight that you're taking our Messi from Wits? How did that move come about, joining Orlando Pirates?
Yeah, it was a strange move because we played some friendlies in the beginning of one season, and Augusto Palacios and Esther Khomane, they were heading up a Danone this under 12 cup in Paris.
Yeah.
And they invited me over. I went to the old Orlando Stadium. I don't know if you remember what it looked like before. It was just big stands, and it wasn't as fancy as it is today.
Yeah.
With a lot of kids, and they sift through all these kids, and I was, I was always one of the first 5 that was picked and chosen out of these kids, and till the very end, I made the squad. I think along with Ryan Chapman was a part of that squad, and that's how I got selected, and I got moved to Orlando Pirates.
No, it's a totally different kettle of fish. There's now that respect that you play for Pirates. What's the difference between Pirates and Vets? Although at that young age, what were some of the differences that you've seen between these two clubs?
So the first team, we used to train at Megawatt Park, and the first team used to train at the same time. So you got to see your Junaid Hartleys at the time, Brandon Silent, Willem Jackson.
Yeah.
And that was an inspiration on another level again, because you come there and you see them come with their big fancy cars. You see them in the first team, they treated properly with, physios all over them, 2 coaches, just everything about the club, the big brand. When they got out of the cars, the maintenance guys, that looks after the pitches would go and take pictures with them, and everybody just wanted a piece of them, and it was beautiful to see what was possible for us as youngsters.
In the first team, who was that player that you saw, I want to be like him, possibly the way that he walks, maybe with the earrings, maybe with the bit of, stylish. We know how players are. I mean, yourself, there's tattoos here and there, but who was the player that you think, I really want to be like him at Pirates?
Yeah, at that time, Junaid Hartley. He was the most spoken about player at the time. Skillful. He had a stint in France. He played in Europe. He came back to Pirates, and he was from my area as well.
Yeah.
And I just thought that he was a super quality player.
Did you ever have an opportunity to speak to him when you're still at Pirates, your juniors?
No, I never got an opportunity, but today we're friends, and that's amazing.
Absolutely. We are in conversation with Stanton Stiga Lewis, a man that has done, quite a lot. And at one stage, the potential was something else. Playing out in Europe with one of the top players that you played with, in the top league at the time, Ajax Amsterdam, a club that was competing in the Champions League year in, year out. He's our guest. He's live. He's in studio. What an absolute honor. Stanton, Pirates, Ikamva. Was it your first flight? Now also take us through that move as to how it came about.
Yeah, so I got selected to play for Gauteng.
Yep.
We played in a provincial tournament. There I was the top goal scorer and player of the tournament as well, out in Oudtshoorn. I remember Trot Maloto giving me that small trophy, and I still have it today. And I was approached by Kevin Johnson. He was there. He was scouting for Ajax Cape Town. And they just approached me. They said, look, we want to take your number. They obviously couldn't speak directly to me.
Yeah.
They spoke to my parents. And I thought, okay, I'm going on trial, so I'll fly down to Cape Town. But no, I was put on a bus, and I was bussed off to Cape Town. So I really know about starting from the bottom.
You're going to a top youth club, but you're on a bus rather than a flight. How was the experience of being on a, 12 hours, 13 hours?
Yeah, look, it's more like 17, 18 hours.
Yeah.
I wasn't picky or choosy. If I got an opportunity, I know my parents, obviously, they check the safety first, and but it was, I think Ajax Cape Town was sponsored by Intercape at the time.
Yeah.
And the bus was, I had to get to the bus station on a certain day, and that was my journey. Luckily, I had a friend with me. He was also scouted at the same time in the same tournament, Clifford Ngobeni, and the two of us went down to Cape Town.
Yeah, your story it just gets much, much more better. But you are now traveling far, far away from home. Possibly the first time you're being so far away from home. What's going through your mind? You're still young, 12, 13, 14. What's going through your mind when you are on that bus going, to Cape Town, but understanding that now it's a totally different level. Maybe you have read somewhere about, they've got a connection with Ajax Amsterdam. Maybe that's also in your back of mind. But so far from home, what's going through your mind?
I think that was the draw card, the Ajax Amsterdam link.
Yeah.
And an opportunity to go to Ajax Cape Town. I always knew your chances of going to Europe would be much better than staying at a local club. As a 13-year-old on a bus going to Cape Town, you're nervous, you don't know anybody there. You'll just meet the people that scouted you. I really didn't know what to expect. All I knew is that I had to just do what I did in those tournaments, and that's what got me the invitation. So I have to just go out there and do what I do best.
The first couple of hours, first couple of days in Cape Town, tell me about, you trying to adjust, because it's now a coastal, province, inland, a whole lot of difference. I've been led to believe that, in Cape Town, it's probably 3-4 different weathers in a single day. Take me through the first couple of days of you trying to, adjust first to Cape Town, secondly to Ajax Cape Town.
Yeah, it was difficult. You get to a guest house, you walk into this environment where all players from outside the Western Cape lived. So if I have to name a few, Ntlantla Shabalala was there, Bryce Moon was there. I obviously didn't know them at the time.
Yeah.
And you're a new guy coming into this environment, living with 9 different personalities, boys. You really don't know what to expect. I didn't expect it because I thought obviously we'll go to a hotel or whatever. But the culture of the club was to bring boys and foreigners together. And at a later stage, when we talk about Amsterdam, I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But going to Ikamva, it was up the road from the guest house we lived in. Got there, the level was obviously a bit higher than what I was used to. It took about 2 days to adjust and really find out, your players, your teammates, and also gain respect from the guys, because they're not happy to see someone from outside Cape Town there, and you're competing with one of their friends for position. So that I found difficult, but took me 2 days and I settled, and I think the 3rd or 4th day they already called my parents to say they want to keep me.
Wow. And I know exactly what you're speaking about. And I think, people outside of the game don't understand the importance of being respected by your teammates. It's a totally different level. At Vets, the first couple of days I was there, close proximity, the pass with the shot, it hits you. I say, player, what did you bring, coach? So I understand that. Maybe just maybe extensively explain the importance of that, because I think people don't understand how important is it for your teammates to respect you and give you that recognition that, you are now part of us.
I think you have to earn it. You come in there, you're a newbie. You have to be nice to everybody. You don't know all the personalities in that change room. So you don't want to just come in and, you were a Ronaldo or Messi at your former club, but here you've done nothing. We don't know you. So you have to, again, prove yourself, gain that respect. And you got to have a big heart if you really want to stay. It would be easy and I think it still is easy for talented players to just give up once they see how rough and tough it gets behind the scenes. Absolutely.
And I think we'll go through stages, but you're mentioning something important. Why are the most talented players not making it at the higher level? You speak about, them wanting to quit because they know how good they are. But maybe can you just take us through or explain why do most talented players don't make it to the highest of levels?
With being super talented, you take it for granted. You walk in somewhere, people are talking about you. This youth player, he's tipped to be one of the best that the country has seen. And you kind of blow up before your time. You become too big before you've actually achieved anything. And I think that's the downfall of a lot of super talented players. They need someone to guide them. They need someone there to keep them grounded and keep them humble, because you got to prove that you're the best over and over and over again.
But how do you do that, Stanton? How do you? I'm going to make a classical example. There's a kid that we speak even to this day. We really do speak. Mfundo Vilega is one of the most talented footballers South Africa is yet to see. But when you speak about grounding, how do you do that? You've got 2 sons now. They might possibly be much more better than you, hopefully. How do you do that? How do you ground them?
Everything starts from the bottom. So the foundation needs to be set first. If you can't be humble, you're not going to get anywhere. And that is the honest truth. If you can walk into a place, mingle with any human being, you already won half the battle. Because you have a smile on your face, you come in to greet. You're not walking in there with your headphones in, not greeting anybody, sitting down. Yes, like I said, people might know you out there or your former clubs, but your teammates will make you or break you at one point or other.
Wow. I think that's very important, and I hope and pray that young footballers, because mostly we listened by everyone, but I hope these young players are listening to this as well. Now back to Ajax. I'm going to fast forward this because I also want to hear a lot about Ajax Amsterdam. Take us through the day that you are promoted to the first team, the emotions, the tears because of the sacrifice that you went through, the difficult times, the not so good days. How did that phone call or that contract come about for you to be given that first team contract? And who was the first people or persons that you told that, I'm a first team player now?
So that happened at the end of 2005. We just finished the Reserve League, which is now the DDC.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't as big and it wasn't a national thing, it was a provincial thing. I was 16 playing in that league, and we played our home games at Ikamva on a Friday night, and the head coach used to come and watch. John Comitis used to sit up there along with Estacio. They used to watch these games, and I knew that they were there on a Friday, and I'd make sure that whatever I do, I have to be noticed, in a very good, positive way.
Yeah.
And my consistency, I think, is one thing that that caught their eye. Our coach then told us that they are looking for players for next season.
Okay.
And I remember this Friday night, I had a great game. After the game, I was leaving for Joburg.
Yeah.
And Gordon Ingerson came up to me after I showered and changed. He said, "I want you to join the preseason, and then we'll take it from there. But just come back well rested. When you come back, it's going to be tough, but you will get a chance to train with us."
Does that fascinate you? I think you're being a bit too humble. You what 16, 17, you're speaking to a coach that has won 3 Premier League titles, a man that has also was dubbed one of the best coaches South Africa has ever. Are you not intimidated that he comes to me, he speaks to me, he's the coach of the first team, he's saying all the nice things? What goes through your mind at that point when you speak to him?
His approach was really easy, and he wasn't too aggressive and hard on in his approach, his words. So, and he didn't say that I'm coming to the first team. He just said, "We're going to have a look at you."
Yeah,
we're going to have a look at you, and that already just told me, okay, I'm not in the first team. I'm going to train with him, but for this guy to recognize my talent, I was over the moon. I just couldn't show him. I obviously thanked him and I was humble about it. I think when I went home, I must have been jumping on my bed.
Yeah. Fast forward a couple of weeks or months, you come back, first team training. The players, who are the players that you train with? These are now superstars, because at that time the Ajax that you played in was world class. Just reminders of the players that you trained with on your preseason.
Was big quality. There was Munib Josephs, Dominic Isaacs. We had Wilfred Mugai up front. Brent Karelse. We had Brett Evans. Ashley Opperman. A lot of super talented Ajax Cape Town players.
Yeah.
they went on to join bigger clubs. But at that time, for us, we just looked at who was in our position. Who am I going to go and compete with? And I had to just be better than whoever they had. And that was a big ask. It took some time. But by God's grace, I got a chance to leave before I needed to really stamp my authority in the team.
The contract comes. Just take us through the custard there.
Hey,
the terms.
Yeah. You mean the crumbs? We can talk about the crumbs.
We'll come to the crumbs. Yeah.
So it was. My dad got called in. He flew down to sign. I was only 17, so I needed consent from him.
Yes.
And we sat in the office with John Comitis, and this meeting happens. They offer me a contract. I think it was 3-year contract, and I think the money. I know what money I earned. So the crumbs was real back then. And I'm not shy to say. That's why if you hear throughout this interview, I told you that I always started at the bottom and worked my way up. That contract was, I think, 1,500 a month as a professional footballer. And I remember the CEO telling me, you either want money or you want to play football. It's your choice. And at that time, I knew within me that I was going to do great things. And I said, I don't care about the money. I'll sign the contract. I just want to play.
But you have got so much belief and confidence in yourself that another person can say it's probably arrogance. How do you instill that? How is that built into you for you to be so confident in your ability and in your talent?
I think it's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. Integrity as well, because you know what you're doing behind the scenes. You're working hard. You know that, you can gauge if you're going to compete with someone. You probably give yourself 6 months to be noticed, and you'll surpass that person. And I seen that. I seen that in the first team. I seen that, I can't mention names, but I knew that I was going to take some players' place in that squad. And that's why I signed on the dotted line, and I said, I just want to play.
Here you are. You've signed. You're a first-team player. There's a bit of a tension now. Probably when you go to the shops and malls out in Cape Town. Oh, that's Stanton. How do you handle that? You're still only 17 years of age. How do you now handle that? Okay, I'm now being noticed. People are now starting to see me.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was strange. It was confusing. People call you and you don't know who they are, but they just want to wave at you. They're not calling you for any other reason. And you have to get used to that. Wow, actually people know who I am. It really didn't faze me growing up at the time. Difficult to understand guys that get lost in that world, because in my mind I still it was just flashes of me here and there, and I think I got over that pretty quick.
I'm not sure how strong social media was at the time. There's DMs.
No, so I was still at school at the time when I was in the first team. So sometimes I would miss school and come back, and teachers would ask me, how was it? Or students would say, we saw you on TV last night and you in class again. So that was nice, and it was close. It was in a school. Social media at the time was non-existent, I don't think. I think just a phone number or house phone, public phones still back then. So it was basically just, I did one show in Cape Town at a radio station, and a lot of people listened to that particular show. And I'll never forget, after the show, going to Waterfront, people seen me, and that's about the only a way of them contacting me or seeing me outside of my school environment or my football environment.
But how do you handle it? I want to be honest with you, because we've got a lot of DDC players that they it goes to their head before even playing a senior team game, and I want to be fair and frank with you. How did you handle that tension from women? Because it can really take you off the rails. How did you be able to to do that? I'm a professional footballer, I'm 17, but this is what I want to do. How do you handle the fame of women in particular?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
It's not easy. People say, you can just ignore it. You can just... We're human being at the end of the day. You're doing something good. People are recognizing you and wanting a piece of you because you're doing something good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I always believe that any distraction would just set me back. And I try to stay in my lane, focus on my football, focus on school. And if there was an odd occasion that I could go out to the movies or whatever, I would do it. I was never rude to anybody, never just brushed anybody off and thought I was bigger than them, male and female.
Yeah.
And I was just a friendly guy, a friendly smile to everybody. And I think that's what helped me a lot, was that I could I could have that willpower. I still have the willpower to say, this is wrong, this is right. And that was the difference.
Absolutely. I'm not sure about your background in youth football, but Ajax, it's Cape Town. There's players of color. How did you, the
difficult, the accent already.
Yeah.
It's and it's the next is a swear word. So, I wasn't used to it. I was like, oh my gosh, where are we?
Yeah.
But I also have a saying: adapt or die. You kill your career right there if you want to remain different. If you don't want to learn the culture, if you don't want to learn about other players, and where they come from. For me, it was easy. Remember, I come from not a very difficult background, but we had our challenges. I used to go out. I used to go out to Kailicha with Makaneseli Siwatla. I think he was the youngest PSL goal scorer.
Yeah, at 50.
I used to go and visit him. I used to go to his house. I used to go to Philippi. I used to go to Mitchell's Plain. The house was obviously, the guest house was in Paro, down the road from Ikamva. But I always said, I want to learn about people. I want to be a friend to everybody. No matter how big your talent is, no matter how small mine is. I'm a first team player. Others are still in the reserve team. That was my friends. I would still go to their families. And, I just adapted well with everybody.
Yeah, and that's very important because it helps you, in certain aspects of your life as well. We are still having a conversation with Stanton Stiga Lewis, a gentleman that I said, what an absolute pleasure it is for me and for us rather to be speaking to him. And now, Stanton, back to Ajax. I think we are going to be closing it for the first part in regards to Ajax Cape Town. There's first team, it's totally different, and there's African magic. How did you deal with African magic at Ajax Cape Town? Were you guys asked to use it, or maybe some of your teammates, you'd see them, sprinkling a couple of beautiful stuff inside their boots?
So remember, this team has European backing, a European influence, and we never really experienced it in our change room as a team. There was no doubt that there were players that would use their own magic there, which we totally understand and we respect. That is for them. But as for the team using anything, I was never exposed up until later on in my life.
Yeah. Now we'll come back to that. Which club? I think that's very important. Your debut. Do you remember your debut up against which team? A couple of, maybe, I'm not sure if, because at Pirates they tell us, 24 hours that you are playing how did they tell you that you're playing your first team game? How did that go about?
That was unexpected. I got a call, I think 2 days before the match. It was a week game. I think we played during the week on a Wednesday night or something. Monday, because I remember I still had school and the coach asked me to join them. We were flying to Joburg to play against Chiefs. I came along. I didn't expect to play. I didn't expect much. You travel with 20 men, 2 in the stands, in case anybody gets sick the night before. So I expected to be one of the two sitting in the stands. Yeah. And I remember telling my parents, telling everybody that I'm coming. And we get to FNB Stadium on match day, and Gordon calls out the team and he says, no, we're having young Lewis, he'll sit on the bench. So it's like, what? I didn't expect that. That's it's my first time traveling with a team. It's a away game. It's against Chiefs. Why would they need me now? And funny enough, I think in the 35th minute, I can still remember, Nathan Paulser gets a knock on his head, and there's a 4 sub, and he asks me and another player to go and warm up. And I was busy warming up, and again I'm thinking, first half sub, no chance. And he calls both of us. He says, change. And I sit down and I'm not changing, and Gordon runs over. He says, I said change. I'm looking at this guy. Oh my God. Put on my jersey. I put my my shin guards on, and there I am. Unexpected. Nobody yesterday and here today. I'm making my debut in the PSL against Chiefs.
It's difficult to comprehend. Butterflies in your stomach. What I mean, it's unheard of, because mentally you put yourself in a stage where I'm gonna be the twos in the stands. I'm now on the bench, 35th, 6th minute. I'm coming in for my debut. How did you play?
I had a fantastic game. I came in. I don't think I thought about it too much, and maybe that's what helped me a lot. Is that I didn't sleep and be too nervous about it. I was thrown into the deep end and I handled it well. I remember Fabian McCarthy as a defender. I always thought of players that kick. So Tinashe was there, Fabian McCarthy, Cyril Nzama, and all these guys were hard tacklers. And I just, at that time in my career, I thought, I just want to avoid injuries. I don't want to get tackled by one of these big guys.
Yeah.
But I came on. I played well. Made the team tick. There was something that was missing, and all of a sudden, 5-6 minutes after I was on the field, and I touched the ball quite often. Chiefs was on the attack, and every time we got the ball, I was the outlet, and I'd turn and run at players, and the crowd, maybe just because I was a youngster, they were behind me, and I remember, and I remind Fabian McCarthy till this day. I remember doing a step over and pushing it, and he tried to turn, he fell, and the crowd was clapping, and they were cheering me on as a opposition player, and I just couldn't understand it. And that's when you win the respect from opposition crowds, opposition coaches and players. And Fabian still denies it till this day, but I can remember. I think I need the highlights of that game. But I had a fantastic game. Obviously not knowing who was in the stands at that time. And Steve Compella was there, and he was looking to build a national under-23 squad. So remember, I'm only 17 and playing in the PSL. Debut went well. I hit the post, almost scored. And 2-3 days later, there was an invitation sent for me to join the Amagluglu team.
Yeah, the under-23s.
Yeah.
But now, this it seems scripted, but it's not. Your debut up against Chiefs, one of the legends of Kaizer Chiefs, that is Fabian McCarthy. I know he's not gonna, agree to that. I know him too well as well. But now, national team. Probably you said, give yourself a season to be in the under 20s, 23. You skip, a level. What's going through your mind? What's happening in your mind, imagination, that is this possible? How is it possible?
Everything just happened so fast. It happened so quick. It was, day and night, where I made a debut, and 3 days later you get an invitation to the under 23 team, and I had to really just ground myself. I had friends. I spoke to the likes of Clifford Ngobeni, Bryce Moon. These guys, they were in the same position as I was. They were training with the first team. They never got a debut yet. And all of a sudden, my life is just taking huge steps that I couldn't imagine, which I honestly thought would happen only at a later stage in my career.
Well, absolutely. Before we close this Ajax Cape Town, just take me through your highest of highs at Ajax or the lowest of your lows at Ajax.
The lowest of lows at Ajax Cape Town would be the first season, obviously, where we were fighting relegation. And Gordon, the same coach that promoted me, came up in the change room. We had a huge meeting, and he came in. He said, you players, you want to stay in the PSL, but you don't show it. You don't play with heart. And who can I take to war? Who can I take to war? And then he was asking the players, and he said, "Can I take you to war?" And the guy said yes, and the other one said yes. And he looked at me, and I don't know what in my mind, I don't know what I was thinking. And he asked me, "Can I take you to war?" And I said, "No, coach, I'm not going to war." He was so pissed off. He was so angry. He was so angry. And I just, out of just the word, the war, it had nothing to do with football at the time. So as a youngster, I made a mistake, and I said, "No, he can't take me to war." Yeah, so he wasn't too happy about that.
Yeah.
The highest, or the best memory I have there was on my 18th birthday against Jomo Cosmos. I scored my first PSL goal. And, that was special.
Absolutely. Was it home or away?
It was a home game. So we had the supporters behind us. It was in Athlone Stadium. I had my mom there. And that was random because I don't know why she came down. But, it was my birthday. So, came on again as a sub, and I scored the winner. We won 2-1.
18. First goal as well. I mean, that's the career of Stanton Lewis as well. Just from height to height, really special heights. And now we are going to be swiftly moving our attentions to European football. Ajax Amsterdam. At the time, competing with the big boys, that move to Ajax Amsterdam, how does that, come about? Because it's unheard of, How did that move to Ajax Amsterdam come about?
Yeah, there was one player that went before me. That was Steven Pienaar.
Yep.
I knew it was possible because he took the same route. I played for Ajax Cape Town. Obviously, the reports. The Dutch influence at Ajax Cape Town, they would send all our games through to Amsterdam, and they would sit there and select. And they invited me over for a trial. I went over, trialed with their youth team first in an under-19 tournament, which I didn't expect to play in. Now you're coming as a first-team player in South Africa. You're going there and you're thinking, this is strange. I'm now back in the youth.
Yeah.
But not realizing that those were all first-team players already. You had Jan Vertongen there. You had Toby Anderwereld, Gregory van der Wiel. Those guys, I didn't know them.
Yeah.
So, I think it also a blessing in disguise because they weren't regulars in the first team. I knew a Ryan Babel and a Wesley Snyder that we used to see on the Champions League. These guys were youngsters just like me, breaking into the first team. And in the tournament again, I finished top goal scorer in the Copa Amsterdam tournament. And I had agents running after me. And Mino Raiola, who's Zlatan's agent and Pogba's agent. I had Rob Moore. He is our local agent that looks he looks after all the players in Europe. And then a guy they called Mr. Ajax, Jacques Swart. They all offered me contracts to sign with him before the club even offered me a contract. And it wasn't enough because they offering me. It's agents. What am I going to sign with agents for? Where, I'm actually here for the club and the club has to make a decision. Again, they, after the tournament, spoke to me nicely. Marco van Basten was the head coach at the time. And he says, I like you. I want you to come back. But we'll see how negotiations go between the two clubs. So I knew one foot was in the door. Half job done. And I flew back to South Africa. While I was in South Africa, the contract was sent through to Ajax Cape Town.
Yeah.
with an offer for me to join Ajax Amsterdam. And John Committees called me up and he said, listen, looks like it's the end of the road here. So I said, yeah. That's why I came to Ajax Cape Town, was obviously to take that step. And he was trying to sway me into signing with a certain agent, and that's where the fight came about. And it kind of played a big part going forward with the club, but eventually I made up my own mind, and I lost contact with John.
Yeah. Once again, it looks like there's a lot more than what you're saying. Is it because maybe your career should have turned out differently than what it should have turned out after he wanted you to sign with a certain agent, Stanton?
Yeah, look, I think with John, money was it meant a lot. I agree. I agree. It does mean a lot. But at the end of the day, a young player, let him make his choice, and don't force anything, upon him. Yeah, which makes it a bit harder to adapt and go back. And you think after all that John has done for me, to turn around at the last minute where it was, it's what he wanted, it's what I wanted. As a club, you want to promote players and say he comes from our youth, and he's now at a huge club as Ajax Amsterdam, but you want to stand in the way of this deal going through smoothly. I felt that was a bit unfair, and he was my legal guardian as well. And I think our relationship kind of came to an end there.
Yeah, it's. I think I understand the emotions as well, because you want to grow and you want, to make a proper living. But beyond that, to build your name and your legacy at Ajax Amsterdam, during that difficult period when you are, the relationship ends, who's there for you? Who now supports you? And who's that genuine person that you can see that, I can actually trust here?
My dad was there. Then again, he does not know much about football and what's best for me. Like I said, I had 3 contracts from Mino Raiola, Jacques Swart and Rob Moore. You kind of feel you need to go with someone that knows South African football, South African players. And I started getting calls from Penny. I got a call from Pinar. Darren Buckley called me saying, go with Rob Moore. Obviously, Rob had told him to call me. Looking back, I would have chosen Mino Raiola any day. But you're forced kind of with the influence, and, you're scared, you're over there. Ajax offered you a deal. People are telling you about Nike contracts. They're telling you they can bring different clubs if nothing works for you. So it's confusing for a young player to make up his own mind and then have your dad help you, which is not so clued up in the football world. And then you have John, who was there your whole career and then gone.
So in you saying that the influence of former players and for you, this is not just former players, these are superstars. I mean, you speak about Steven Pienaar, you speak about Benny McCarthy as well. I'm now concluding that you now signed with Rob Moore.
Yeah, it took a while. Eventually, I signed with Rob Moore before I signed my Ajax Amsterdam deal. He was a part of it. I just felt it was unfair because Rob did not take me anywhere. I got myself there. The club, Ajax Cape Town, gave me the opportunity. So if anybody had to represent me, I would have expected, although he's not an agent, a club boss like John Committees to be there, instead of trying to force me to someone else.
So, at the time, did you understand how enormous Mino Raiola was, because he's a top football agent, I think. But did you know him? Did you understand?
No. So that was the problem. I did not do any research on him. I didn't. I just seen this guy come there. He spoke to a lot of the top talented players like Gregory and Jeffrey Sapong was there, and he represented them. But I didn't know, his history and all the other players, the superstars that he had under his belt. And for me, it was easy to just ignore it because, okay, this guy, I don't know him. He wants to do me in. Let me go with a South African agent that has done things for superstars like Benny, Aaron Mokoena and Pinar.
Yeah, it's a touching one. It really is. Now, your how would you describe your time? Maybe now being also promoted to the first team or training with the first team with Ajax Amsterdam, and maybe just briefly your time out at Ajax Amsterdam. And I'm already guessing that you should have done much more had you had the support from John committees and maybe you making your own decision and research and going with Mino Raiola. But just your time at Ajax Amsterdam with the first team, because I understand you spent 3 or 4 years at the club.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It started very bad, and that's what gets me emotional. I missed out on the pre-season. The coaches was changed during the pre-season. They brought Tenkate in. Henk Tenkate didn't know me. He didn't sign me. The coach that did is now gone. But in saying that, if I joined the pre-season when I was supposed to and there was no fights between agents and myself and John committees, I would have been there on time. And, I started off at the club on the back foot already. Came there, the coach had new ideas and new players, a new system even in Ajax. But it was still one of the best moments in my life. When I got there, I was welcomed into the first team, training there. Exactly the same concept that we have here with the Diski, is where you don't get game time or enough game time in the first team. You'll go and play in the so-called reserve league, which was also of very high quality.
Yep.
And I think I picked up momentum there, and that's when I started enjoying my time in Amsterdam again.
For you to experience that as well, I that experience of playing out in Europe and the facilities and the first team players, what type of pictures are you starting to imagine for yourself? Because you're at one of the biggest clubs. What are you now thinking? You are in that space. You come from difficult, not upbringing, but difficult home situation. You went to Ajax, you proved yourself. You are now here. You're training or seeing the big stars. What is now going through your mind in regards to the possibilities of where you can reach in regards to your career?
First of all, it was a dream come true, because I was, for the first time in my career, my life as well, I was starstruck. So now I'm seeing Wesley Sneijder pull up to training. I'm seeing Jaap Stam, Edgar Davids. I thought he was a myth with his glasses. And he has a eye problem, and he actually wears those glasses. And you at the Amsterdam Arena with all these legends, and they had Patrick Kluivert as a striker coach. Dennis Bergkamp was part of the club. The De Boer brothers was
Frank
and Ronald De Boer was part of the club. So you're seeing all these players that you used to see growing up, and I had to pinch myself then to say to see if this is real. Normal people, you think they won't speak English. The first thing is the language barrier. It's Dutch. I can't talk Dutch. What are we going to do? But warm, welcoming, understanding. I was late for the pre-season already, and the quality on the field, I think I could block that out. Just focus on football, and that's where, again, you start from the bottom and you gain the respect of huge names in world football. And for me, since from that day on in Amsterdam, I knew that something good is going to come from this. Just being there was a blessing, and I needed to set another goal of being a regular in the first team. difficult when you have Suarez, difficult when you have Huntelaar, difficult when you have Sneijder. You know, and that's the kind of players I was competing with to get into the first team and stay in the first team.
Stanton, I think, we're slightly running out of time. I'm once again going to request another interview with you, but with the minutes that we are left with, we don't see an awful lot of South African players going to Europe and staying the course. You've been there. Can you just enlist a couple of challenges that why do South African players return after a season or two? What's the, maybe in no particular order, what are some of those challenges that South African players have when they go out to Europe?
Culture shock. So you'll get, like I said, the Dutch, along with the language barriers, the different types of food, the weather, the climate is totally different to the cold we experience here is not the cold that you'll get and experience over there. And in order for me to stay that long, I had to rotate my family. So my wife, which was my girlfriend back then, used to come for 3 months, keep me occupied. I had someone to talk to, someone to be with every day, as well as other teammates from Amsterdam. And she would go home and I'd let my mom come. And my mom would stay for 3 months and I would rotate the people like that. And I mean, if you have, if you buy the means and you can do it, for youngsters they get an opportunity to stay there, to go to Europe and stay there. That's what they should do. Is kind of have their closest 5 people and influential people in their life, just dedicate that, even if it's a month and you're rotating them. Obviously, good influence to be there with you through those tough times. And after a while, you find your feet. 2-3 years, you become a Dutchman or an Englishman.
Absolutely. Another big club that you play for, I think this is where we, probably the last conversation for now. KZ Chiefs as well. You've played for the biggest of clubs. Ajax, Cape Town, Amsterdam, Chiefs as well. Your experience at the club. I've been led to believe a lot of times about the professionalism at that club is absolutely Europe-like. Take me through your experiences out of the KZ Chiefs.
Yeah, great. Kaiser Motaung is a guy with vision. He wanted to grow his club. He wanted to sign top players. I remember I was at Ajax Cape Town, and we played the MTN8 final in Durban. After the game, they approached me and they said Torrealba was leaving, and they wanted to replace him almost immediately with me. And there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to sign for Chiefs. My first day there was it felt like I was back in Europe, entering Naturina. Like you say, they forward thinking. I think the club has the money, they have the support, they have a good structure, a brilliant youth structure, which I support so much till this day. And then you kind of get that feel that you at a big club. You feel like you're at a big club. You walk in there, there's big players, there's big pressure. And my time at Chiefs was brilliant. Unfortunately, again, negotiations didn't allow me to extend my stay, which was offered to me. And a choice that I had to make along with the same agent. And that relationship came to an end.
I think this is the last question. Your partner, what a story. At a party, and you're with your girlfriend, and she's with a friend, a male friend. Stanton, just take us. Yes, goodness, take us through how that happens. You're at a party with your girlfriend, not your wife, who becomes later your wife. Take me through that. How does that happen? And she's been looking at you. You already looked at her. She travels to Durban the next day. You text her. Just take me through that. Goodness.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. I think, that love at first sight kind of a thing. The girlfriend that I was with, shame, man. Yeah, that's a difficult one, you know. I didn't mean to be a bad guy. You know, I got there and I honestly thought that my wife, I thought that was her boyfriend, which I treated very badly also at that time because I just wanted Jade. So, yeah, I walk into this party with this girl and it wasn't even really my girlfriend. It was just, you know, just to walk in with somebody. And then I seen my wife and she said, wow, geez, I'm making myself hot here because now it looks like I'm taken. Let me start chilling with the boys on the one side and my, you know, the girlfriend that I was with, she came and she's standing next to me. And
oh my God.
So Jade, yeah, I seen her and I think I looked straight into her eyes. But then I thought, okay, she has a boyfriend here.
Mm.
And we didn't talk. I don't think we even spoke that day.
Yeah.
I just looked at her the whole night. I was looking at her and there's music and I just wanted to get away from this one girl that I was with, not in a bad way, but, you know. Anyway, I left. I was in Cape Town and I left the party and I was like, oh man, I should have got a number. I should have asked. But I was a shy guy, you know. And I think a day or two I got a text, you know, back then was a message and said, hey, it's Jade, how are you? And I was like, oh my gosh, can't believe this. She actually found my number and, you know, that's how our relationship started. And that was way before I was anything. Yes, I was in the youth system of Ajax and, you know, tipped to be something good. But I believe that, yeah, it was kind of God sent. Meeting at a party, you know, it's very funny because normally couples meet in a church and then they become partners for life. We met at some party and yeah, I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful family now.
Lastly, before we close, I've been saying this, but the importance of that. Footballers travel a lot. I think they say, you know, you guys live in suitcases. The importance of her support in your career, probably second to none. Using our platform, how important has she been in your life and how grateful are you to her, you know, to even, you know, bear you the kids that you have, just thanking her for the support and her being part of your life. Already there's a lot of emotion I can see in your eyes, but how important has she been in your life?
Yeah, immense. I think that's my better half. Through the good times and the bad, there was a lot of good times, lots. And then she always reminded me that, you know, one day you need to remember where you come from, who you are, because you, like I said, we're all human, and you start losing yourself when the fame and fortune comes in. Yeah, you forget about, you know, who your wife was back then, when you were nobody and nobody wanted you, and she was the one that wanted you. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, you're this big superstar and you have supermodels running after you and you're forgetting, you know, and you just see this. Yeah. But I'm so grateful. I think without her, especially in the tough times, I wouldn't have made it. She stood by me when I was injured. She stood by me when I was going through a tough time at any club. Her support was always there. The boys, you know, what a good mother she is to my kids. We try and do everything together. She wants to do absolutely everything together, and I refuse. I refuse that because eventually we'll get sick of each other. But we spend a lot of time. I'm grateful that she was there from the beginning. She knows exactly where I come from. And she, like myself, we've adapted to all kinds of lifestyles, which we try and you know, teach our kids. They are fortunate now, but I still take them back to where I came from.
Absolutely. When you speak about your wife, I can see your phone is flashing. I think you're probably going to have a beautiful evening later tonight. Hey,
I hope so. Maybe you can tell her what a nice guy I am.
Well, in closing, this is a special song for both of you. I think she probably chose it, but I'm going to play it in closing, and maybe the next time you come here, because I think this should be the second time that we have another conversation in regards to Golden Arrows, in regards to Chippa United as well, and how you ended your career. But